me, I look at such a great season last year, and then we had a terrible postseason performance. So for me, as a competitor, I'm thinking to myself, I want to get back to the playoffs and have a better performance.
As you heard, that is one of the most determined and talented players in the NBA, All-Star Damian Lillard. We are Rick Kamla, Caron Butler, Antonio Daniels, and last season, Lillard skyrocketed to 4th in the MVP voting. So, Tough Juice and AD, is he on your MVP radar as we begin the season?
He's always a guy that's in the conversation. You have to look at guys like LeBron James with the new addition going to the Los Angeles Lakers. He's going to be the headline story all season. But Damian Lillard, as he go, that team go, that franchise go, and he has to be consistent for majority of the season. So he's going to have to be extremely efficient. He's going to have to facilitate and get guys involved.
And to add to what CB just said, they're going to have to win. That's hard to do in the Western Conference. If you go back and you look at a year ago, they were 3rd in the West. He was in the MVP conversation. The West has gotten better. It's gotten deeper. So now if you're Damian Lillard, how do you put yourself back in that MVP conversation? For Damian Lillard to be in that conversation, they have to finish in the top 4.
I agree with that. And Lillard blossomed into one of the most prolific scorers in the game, averaging at least 25 points per game in each of the past 3 seasons. He's also a winner, but the team did not win in the postseason. So how important is this season for Damian Lillard and the Blazers?
Well, I think it's extremely important for a number of different reasons. Because as Damian just alluded to, if you win during the regular season, but you don't win come playoff time, it's not considered a successful season. And for them to have a successful season, that winning that they do during the regular season has to then translate to the postseason.
Yeah, I think that, 3rd worst in the association with assist to turnover ratio. So, that tells me 2 things. They have the backcourt firepower with him and C.J. McCollum, but it's all on them. And they need others to come up and help in a huge way. So, I look at guys like Aminu and all those guys to step up in some type of form. And you saw little flashes of it, in the postseason, but that was warranted because they was given those opportunities. I'm talking about Aminu. But they have to find a way to get other guys involved, and other guys have to step up in a major way.
That's a great point, because you talked about their assist to turnover ratio. They were also last in the league in assists total as a team. So now basically that goes to your point, TB. You're putting that on 2 guys. You're putting that on C.J. McCollum. You're putting that on Damian Lillard. You have to understand you have a couple of the guys over there that are capable of making plays as well.
As we're talking about the importance of this season, if the Blazers do not realize their lofty goals, will they make bold moves?
I hope so, because they're going to have to build in the trade. Portland isn't one of those destinations where you can get guys in free agency or anything like that. So you got to build through a trade. You got to develop guys throughout the draft. That takes 2 to 3 year process. And, the time is now for them to win basketball games. This is the prime of C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard and Aminu and Harkless and those guys to win now in a heavily, heavily talented Western Conference.
If you don't advance in the playoffs, get out of the first round, especially if you look at the last 2 years, they got swept both years. So now if you don't get out of that first round, it's time to do something.
Not a gentleman's sweep.
Right. We're talking about winning one game. We're talking about literally, and this past year, they were the favorite. They were 3 seed, New Orleans was a 6 seed. So they were the favorite and still got swept. So if you don't advance out of the first round this year, or maybe even out of the second round, it's time to start looking at pulling the trigger on certain moves. Do you trade Damian Lillard? Do you trade C.J. McCollum? You have to do something moving forward.
And what makes that playoff setback last year even worse is the Pelicans did not have Boogie Cousins and still were able to beat the Portland Trail Blazers. So C.J. McCollum generated all-star buzz a season ago, averaging 21.4 points and shooting nearly 40% on threes. Here is C.J. now on his relationship with Great Dame.
There's a lot of teams where the 2 best players don't get along, or they don't hang out, they don't associate with each other. There's a disconnect, and they figure out how to have a working relationship. I think that we all have coworkers. You guys have coworkers that you have a working relationship with, but you're not seeing them when 5 p.m. when you clock out. So, having that relationship, understanding how to balance each other. And then I think it's a maturity factor that we're understanding that we have to do whatever it takes to win. We've gone through a lot of, I haven't been an all-star, but I've had individual success. He's had individual success, been an all-star. You're judged on what you do in the playoffs, winning, advancing. So that's what our main focus and our main goal is going forward. And I'm sure he's thinking the same thing. I'm sure the organization and staff are thinking the same thing. How can we be great elite players who help our teams win and move forward? Because that's how you're remembered.
All right, very impressive soundbite right there from young vet, C.J. McCollum. But let's talk about that dynamic about, do you have to love each other to come together and win together, or can you win together not loving each other on the court and off the court?
Well, the fact of the matter is this. C.J. and Dame have a great relationship. But if it doesn't translate to wins, the organization does not care. C.J. just said, you know what, we have to do whatever works best for us. The organization will as well. So you guys may get along fantastic. If that doesn't translate to postseason success, it's time to make moves.
I spent a little bit of time with C.J. McCollum this offseason at Dwayne Wade's Blueprint Clinic, and he was talking about how they coexist together and they communicate and talk, and the foundation and the structure of their relationship is extremely firm and strong. But like Antonio said, it has to result to wins. I think that Coach Terry Stotts done a magnificent job with them in the backcourt, giving them space, utilizing them, player usage. But other guys have not developed. Other guys have not been efficient around them. And then you lose so much. You lost Ed Davis, you lose Shabazz Napier, guys that really support that cast. So I feel like they're regressing, but on that backcourt talent alone, they can get you in the playoffs by having astronomical numbers and astronomical performances night in and night out throughout the marathon of the season. But when the playoffs come, they're done. Like they ran out of gas, and now you have to rely on Aminu and other guys to step up in a major way.
That's difficult to do. That's very, very hard to do. And he can speak to this being an all-star, but just to do that on a night-to-night basis. And like you said, when the playoffs come around and you're not playing some of the lower-tier teams anymore, you're playing against really good defensive teams that have an opportunity to really prepare for you and what you bring to the table. It's tough to have that same success in the playoffs, especially when you are strictly a backcourt basketball team. And I agree with you. You need some other guys around CJ and Dame to step up and provide as well.
So that's the bottom line. Okay, let's bottom line it right here. You've got Dame at like 25 to 28 PPG. You've got CJ at about 22, 23 PPG. So bottom line, is it on those other guys? Is there anything more Dame and CJ can do?
I say no, because you look at the three guys in Norwich, McCollum, and you look at Dame. Those are the three guys who have the player stoppage, the ball movement. It stops with them because they're isolation-type players. So if they have to do more, that means that the others will have to do much less because they're not going to have a chance, the 1-1000, the 2-1000, to operate offensively with the basketball. And then defensively and offensively, they play at a different pace. So things have to change there rather quickly right now while those guys are in the prime of their career.
So the biggest offseason move made by the Blazers was re-signing Jusuf Nurkic, 4 years, $48 million. Pretty good price at a guy last year going 14.3 points, 9 boards, 1.4 blocks in 26 minutes per game. Will his new contract bring new confidence?
I definitely think so. It's a different game when you understand you're wanted. You're wanted. This team brought you back for a reason because, like you said, they have two good guards, two great guards. But now they need a third scorer. They need someone else that they can count on when Damian Lillard's not going, when C.J. McCollum's not going. Someone they can throw the ball to on the box and say, you know what, I know the NBA is about pace and space, but we need to drop the ball to you and get us a bucket on that block. With new contract comes new confidence. So hopefully with that $12 million per year, Jusuf Nurkic will understand how much he is wanted and also needed for this Portland Trail Blazers basketball team.
New confidence also come new responsibilities. And offensively, he's going to get played through. They're going to use him as a facilitator to operate on the offensive end of the floor. But most importantly, the problems that he had in Denver when he was there is protecting the basket. You have to be a guy that's going to be a threat down there night in and night out consistently. Whether you have the ball, whether you're getting the ball in the feeds and the touches, you have to be a wall, a tree down there night in and night out to protect that rim.
It's interesting, right? At Denver, Nurkic and Jokic kind of rose together and they had a decision to make. They ship out Nurk. The Joker is now a superstar in the NBA. Nurkic just got paid, but obviously the starting center for Portland, and they are happy to have him. So we are just getting started on the Portland Trail Blazers preview. Coming up, you will hear from three-time All-Star Damian Lillard on the reason for this wacky workout video. You're already laughing.
I love it.
On Media Day, that's kind of how it goes when you're the face of the franchise, and our Ro Parrish caught up with him.
He's an all-star. He is an all-NBA performer. He is the fearless leader of the Portland Trail Blazers. Dame Lillard joins us. First day of school, you feeling good? Getting ready to start this season?
I feel great, man. I had a great summer. I'm excited, going into my 7th season. It came quick, man.
So you said you had a great off-season. I had a chance to witness some of your off-season workout videos. They were spectacular. How much fun was it to shoot those videos?
It was a lot of fun. I actually had a run-in with somebody on Twitter. The guy was like, I haven't seen Dame at no pickup games in New York and L.A. He ain't posting no workouts. He haven't been in the gym at all. He just rapping, and, he had a whole lot to say. So, I made fun out of it.
Yes,
that
you
did what I see a lot on Instagram.
Yeah, because, in off-season workouts, nobody ever misses a shot ever. Everybody's a 99, right?
Right.
Now, but way to see you get that done and have fun with. But let's talk about last season. Of course, you guys finished 3rd in the West, end up getting swept out of the playoffs by the Pelicans. Yeah. Talk about how much that hurt and how it motivated you going into this season.
It hurt a lot, not only as a competitor, but just after all that we did in the regular season. We in a tough Western Conference, we finished 3rd. We got home court for the first time since I've been in the league. And everybody was real confident. We felt real good going into the playoffs. And, we ran into a team that was playing really well. They had a great game plan. And, they made the game tough for us. And, I think the most simple way to put it is they outplayed us. We didn't show up and play as well as we needed to. We got swept. But, it's a, it's a league of men. We professionals. And one team gets to win the championship. So we just got to, keep that in our mind and remember that it happened. We got to move on and, stay confident, stay inspired, and, just try to be better about it next time. But, it's something that you just can't hold on to. So it, I guess, stunts our growth or stops us from moving forward.
So you're already playing in a tough Western Conference. Now LeBron decides to take his talents out west to the Lakers, making the Western Conference that much more tougher. How do you prepare yourself mentally to go to battle night in and night out against these tough teams?
I think the good thing for us is we've been in the Western Conference. We know that whether it's the best team in the West or, the worst team on paper in the West, you're going to have a tough game. And when you've been a part of that your entire career, I think every year that's what you come in expecting. So, obviously you'll have the Lakers with LeBron. They'll be elevated to a new level. You'll have other teams that added someone to the team. The Rockets added Melo. Paul George going back to OKC with another year, where they playing together and another year of experience. So I'm sure it'll be a lot of teams will get better. It'll be a little bit tougher, but that's what the Western Conference has been since I've been in the league. So, we ready for whatever.
Speaking of ready for whatever, you and your backcourt mate CJ, y'all been dominant, one of the most dynamic duos for the past 3 seasons. What can we expect in year 4 from you two?
I think more of the same. I think each year we come back and we challenge ourselves to be better at things that we weren't great at and to continue to do what we do. We score the ball, we compete, give people trouble every night. And now we've come and, we've been a 3 seed in the playoffs and we underperformed. Now we got to be able to back up that type of performance in the regular season, but then elevate ourselves in the playoffs. So I just think more of the same, but maybe a little better.
So what are your personal goals, number one, and what are the team goals for you? What would constitute a successful season for the Trailblazers?
I try not to look too far ahead, but I think coming out of the tough Western Conference again and, earning a playoff spot, you get to the playoffs, and I just really want to get to the playoffs and have a really, really solid performance. You know, I think each year you try to find something to motivate yourself or push yourself. And, you know, I think this year is going to be, you know, try to back up what I did last year, but then when we get to the playoffs, have a strong performance, you know, and really lead my team to that next step.
Great job there by Rowe and Dame. And we were talking while listening, and we all agree that he's a future Hall of Fame player. But let's talk social media. A lot of NBA players are super active on social media. Dame, of course, is one of them. Where did that tweet rank with all the offseason tweets you saw?
That was number one.
Number one.
That was, I'm sorry, that was number one for me. For it. Now, we was laughing about that. That was number one for a number of reasons. You got a dude shooting a Nerf gun at you. He's hula hooping. He's doing all sort of stuff. Because if you see workout videos, not just pros, but you see guys putting kids through a whole bunch of different things that kind of seem useless.
Yeah.
So to actually see a pro do it, and the pro being Damian Lillard, to be at that level, to kind of poke fun at it, I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was extremely funny. And, you know, I do it all the time where I'm going into 360 or Lifetime, and I see guys in there playing against cones, playing against ghosts. And in reality is you have to play against real speed, real length, real physicality.
Real people.
Yeah, real people to help your game, you know, because people have real reactions. And like you said, guys shooting 85, 90% playing against ghosts. That's not the reality of the association. It's not like that. People game plan for you. They play you to your weaknesses, and you have to be ready for those moments.
All right, so let's dive into the depth chart, our projected depth chart for these Blazers. And they added 4 new guards, and Seth Curry, Wade Baldwin, a couple of veterans, as well as draft picks Anthony Simons and Gary Trent Jr., Mo Harkless, Evan Turner, and Al-Farouq Aminu hold down the forward positions, and Collins and Leonard provide depth behind Yusuf Nurkic. So, AD, let's talk Evan Turner. Are the Blazers getting enough on their investment into Evan Turner?
See, this is what the NBA has turned into. They match your contract with your numbers. It's tough because Evan Turner is who Evan Turner is. Okay, he gave you 8 points a game last year on 45% from the field, and he can give you a little bit more than that. But his ceiling thus far as to what he has shown is 17 points a game, one of the years in Philly. So I don't know what they're really expecting out of him, but he does give you an additional ball handler and a guy to create shots for himself and also his teammates.
All right, so, and Caron, I want to get you talking about Al-Farouq Aminu, who is the power forward for this team. 10 years ago, he would not have been playing power forward in the National Basketball Association. So is he being played out of position, and do you like his overall game?
He is, and a lot of guys are, but the reality of the story is he has to be that third guy that can be consistent. Saw flashes of it in the playoffs, 17, 9 rebounds per game, 40+% at the three-point percentage. 50+% at the field. Twos, he has to be consistent going forward for this ball club.
All right, so let's take a break. This is the Blazers preview, and on the other side, the starters are going to tell you if these Portland Trail Blazers should trade C.J. McCollum. Blazers fans are like, earmuffs, I can't do this. This is the Blazers preview on NBA TV.
Oh, no.
Ever known as Scoop Lillard because he broke news on 2 major media transactions. Free agent reporter Chris Haynes reaches agreement with Yahoo as their senior NBA insider. He will help build their NBA team. So Damian with the scoop there. And on our guy Sam Amick leaving USA Today for a national job with The Athletic. I think that is very clever, and my guys Caron and Antonio agree. All right, it is time for the starters to get in here, play a little game of true or false with C.J. McCollum.
Skeets and Lee here from the starters with your next point about the Portland Trail Blazers. It's in the form of a question. Lee, true or false? The Blazers should trade C.J. McCollum this season.
False. But maybe it's true. I'm not really sure. Because of their
torn.
crazy season they had last year, they were fantastic for the regular season, finishing 3rd, but then they got swept by the Pelicans in the playoffs. Now, I think Dame and CJ are a great backcourt combination. And so do you look at the whole season last year and say, well, we just weren't very good in the playoffs? Or do you say, maybe that was a little bit of a mirage the season we had and we need to change things up a little bit? And CJ's a very valuable player. I think you can get a good return on him. But I just also think maybe you want to stick with him and stick with Dame and then try to build other parts around that that sort of a backcourt. So
you are sitting on the fence on this one.
It's a crazy one because, again, no one really expected. So a few people picked the Pelicans for an upset, but no one thought the Blazers were going to get swept. And I think part of the reason they got swept was because Dame and CJ just weren't very good. But they'll learn from that and they're going to get better. And you want to look at what they did defensively last year. They improved a lot, and I think that's important for the Blazers.
Yeah, that's what was weird in the last year's playoffs. It was Rondo and Drew Holiday outplaying Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. That all said, I think what we'll see here with the Blazers going into this season is they'll give it 20, 25 games. What type of squad do we have here? Do we have a team that could win 50 games, gaining a little bit of confidence and do some noise in the playoffs? Or is this not working and maybe it is time that we move one of these guys, with CJ being the most likely between the two? I think it'll be a little test run here for the first part of the season. If they get off to a slow start, I think why not? Why wouldn't you look to get some return back from CJ? If not, then maybe they run with it.
Do you think, though, you're only going to get sort of like for like back, or do you think you then change up and get someone else, a bigger name in return?
Well, no, you're very, very unlikely to get a bigger name. And any type of trade where you're trading a near all-star in CJ McCollum, it's unlikely you're going to get another near all-star or all-star back. I mean, it does happen every once in a while, DeRozan and Kawhi, but there's weird situations. No, but at some point you got to say, maybe this backcourt, and we see it with the Wizards. I mean, a lot of us are like John Wall and Beal. It looks good. They win a lot of games at times, but they haven't really done a lot. And
come playoff time,
maybe we should go in another direction.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility with the Blazers as well. Let's hear from you guys. It's an interesting one. Should the Blazers look to trade CJ McCollum, or should they continue with this backcourt duo? Hit us up on Twitter at #TheStarters.
Appreciate it, guys. Still to come on the Blazers preview, AD and Caron will tell you if Portland wins more or less than 42.5 games this season. It's been a rough go for the Blazers in the last 3 playoff series. As you can see, 1-12 overall, and they have lost 10 consecutive playoff games. I actually can't believe that I just said that as we bring you back to the Blazers preview. Rick Kamla, Antonio Daniels, and Caron Butler. 49 wins a year ago, but the number is 42.5, more or less.
I'm going with more. Not much more, though. But, the West has gotten better. The West is a lot deeper, so I'm going with more than 42.5.
I got more, too. I got them at 45 wins. I think the West half got a little more depth. Guys going to be desperate for wins, and the sense of urgency went extremely high.
But are they a playoff team?
No.
Wow.
Straddling the fence.
That's an easy way out.
That's an easy way out. Good luck to the Blazers. See you soon, y'all.